What is up? What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam Lucas. I'm a filmmaker. This is gonna be a problem. I got so much stuff around me and I'm a hand talker, so I'm gonna be punching stuff. Welcome back to the channel. I'm a filmmaker based in State College, Pennsylvania. If you're new here, if this is your first time swinging by the channel, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by. And if you're into, filmmaking, photography, creative business, and recently I've been making some content about running. I'm currently training for a marathon and shooting some of that process and sharing it here on the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe if any of that stuff interests you. I love to see you around in the comment section. Let me know what's up. Let me know if you enjoy this content. I really appreciate it. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike it, hit the thumbs down button twice. Let's get into it. A few months ago, you guys might remember, I'll link it here somewhere. I never remember which shoulder the cards come up on, but I'll link the video. I started a series about this right here. This is my Canon C300 Mark III. This is my primary camera that I use for my production company. I've had enough time to really figure out what I like, what I dislike about it, and I wanted to continue that C300 series that I started filming a few months back and just share with you guys some of my favorite accessories. A couple of them aren't even necessarily accessories for this camera. They're just kind of things that in my mind are necessities for the raw workflow that I adopted when I started shooting with this camera. So let's get right into it, guys. The very first accessory on this list, in no particular order, is this right here. The Pro Basecamp Matte Box. I really love what Pro did with this. There's definitely some pros and cons. I feel like that's true with everything, but the pros being it's super affordable, it's super small, it's super lightweight. If you guys have ever used matte boxes before, or if you've never used matte box, a matte box is literally just a filter holder. A lot of times they can get big, they can get bulky, they're heavy. The filters that you use for them are pretty expensive. Some of the designs for the trays that hold the filters so you can slot them into these matte boxes are suboptimal, and you break a lot of filters, a lot of expensive filters. Pro just did this thing right. They thought through a ton of the frustrations that come with traditional matte boxes, and they fixed them, and then they delivered it at like a fraction of the cost. So that's the legitimate reason I love it. The second reason is dumb, but it's real, and that's client perception. This is already a big, legitimate looking camera, but when you show up with a matte box, man, clients are like,
oh, this guy's serious, like that's a real camera.
I don't know what it is about the matte box, but there's this running joke in the film industry that you can charge thousands of dollars more if your camera has a matte box, regardless of if it makes the product better or not, because people will view you as more professional when your kit looks more professional, and it definitely plays the part. A couple downsides: the filters are proprietary, so the filters that Pro makes are what you're stuck with. I say stuck. They've gotten a really good line of filters going. Just this past year, they announced a faux anamorphic filter that will give you those horizontal flares that you get shooting with anamorphic lenses a lot of times. They released some mist filters, so they have released some good, staple creative filters that a lot of people will use that will cover the bases for the vast majority of people. And compared to offerings from, say, Bright Tangerine or Ari, I think I paid, I want to say $700 or $800 for this matte box. The comparable matte box without filters included from like a more industry standard company, something like Ari, is going to run you close to $3 grand just for the matte box, and then it will be easily $1,000 more for the filtration that you want. So it's just, like I said, there's pros and cons. For me, for how I shoot, for my situation, the Pro Basecamp is the best option. Moving on to my second favorite accessory on the south side of this camera is this right here. Not the battery. This is a Vmount battery, but what it is attached to is a Vmount battery plate from a company called Full Frame Camera Co. I got turned on to this from my friend here on YouTube. His name's Griffin Conway. Go check out his channel. He's got some great camera reviews, some great comparisons, different stuff, technical reviews, behind the scenes stuff from shoots that he's doing. He's in Orange County, California. So he's got some really great stuff going on his channel, but he turned me on to this V-mount battery plate. He's got a C500 Mark II, and when he started making his videos, I saw this battery plate on his camera. I said, bro, what is that? Because I think I need one for my C300. And he told me it's the Full Frame Camera Co. V-mount battery plate. So I found this company. They're based in the UK. And when I bought this, I had to import it from the UK. Now they have distribution in the US, and I don't think you save any money per se. I think it still costs the same because they're still importing it and doing all that stuff. But you can order it here in the US from a US company that already has them in stock, and kind of save some time on shipping because it doesn't have to clear customs and different stuff like that. But one of the great things about Canon cinema cameras in general is you don't have to add a ton of accessories. They're pretty much ready to shoot out of the box. But I do have a couple additional accessories. I run this additional monitor, so I have two monitors on my camera. One is powered by the camera, and then one is powered off of the V-mount battery plate. And then when I want to run a wireless follow focus, I'm able to power the follow focus motor also off of this V-mount. So it's one battery solution for all of your accessories on your camera, and then it also powers your camera, obviously. And the second great thing about this battery plate is that down here, this is the slot where the Canon, the BPA 60 battery that ships with the camera goes in. I don't have it in there right now because it's charging. I have a shoot here the next 2 days that I'm charging batteries up for, but when it is in here, you're able to hot swap these V-mount batteries. So you're not really impeding progress on a shoot because of batteries dying, because you're able to hot swap with this V-mount battery plate, which is awesome. I'm a huge fan. So that V-mount battery plate is probably my favorite accessory on this entire rig. If you could only buy one of these things, I would buy that V-mount battery plate. The last thing I'm going to talk about on this camera is this top handle. This is the bright Tangerine left field top handle. My favorite thing about this top handle is you can loosen it and you can slide it forward and backward. What that allows you to do is I handhold a lot. And so when I'm rigging my camera up different ways and going about, different ways of shooting, the weight and the build of the camera change, and there's a weight distribution that I like to have. So what this top handle being able to slide does is I can change the configuration, the build of my camera rig, and then I don't have to distribute the weight. I can just slide the handle to where it needs to be to make sure the camera is balanced how I like. And that's awesome because a lot of top handles will just bolt to the top of the camera and call it a day, and then you're left to kind of figure out how to distribute the weight evenly how you like it from there. But this being able to slide back and forth is so awesome. The top handle that comes with the C300 Mark III and the C500 Mark II and the C200, they're all the same, is pretty good. It's passable. Like, you don't need to replace it by any stretch, but I like this one from Bright Tangerine more. I love really all of Bright Tangerine's rigging accessories. I'm a huge fan of. We're talking about industry standard leading quality, super tight tolerances with their manufacturing kind of stuff. So it's really worth it. I think this top handle was maybe $275 or $300. It's not a cheap chunk of aluminum, but like I said, super worth it to me. So moving on, I'm just gonna have to layer some B-roll of these next two accessories because I don't have them out and ready to go. Aside from these three actual camera accessories, one is the Zhiyun I don't know how to say it. The Zhiyun Crane 3S, in particular with the additional battery pack. I went with the Zhiyun Crane 3S for one specific reason. It'll actually fit this camera on it. It's a single handle style pistol grip gimbal, which will fit this camera and do full 360 rotation on every axis with clearance. which is insane. It's insane, first of all, that it'll even handle the payload. This is about between a 15 and a 16 pound camera. So it's insane that the Zhiyun will even handle the payload of this camera, but it's even more insane that it has clearance, because in order to get clearance on a camera like this, you would typically have to buy like an $8,000 like Ronin 2 or a $10,000 like Movi Pro. So the fact that that gimbal will not only handle the payload, but actually have clearance to fly this camera for less than $1,000 is insane. And for me, like I said, I don't do a ton of gimbal shooting, and because I shoot that way with a gimbal, I'm very, very minimal. That gimbal works great. It's unwieldy, it's big, it's heavy to use that way. A two-handed, you know, gimbal with a full ring system would definitely be easier to use, but like I said, I'm only grabbing a handful of shots with a gimbal. You know, like, it just, if you can't tell, I'm just blown away that they make a gimbal at that price point that can handle a camera like this. Highly recommend for these bigger cinema cameras, unless you do a ton of gimbal shooting, in which case it probably makes sense to invest in the much more manageable, easier to use like Ronin 2. With that, moving on, the last accessory that I will recommend that I think pairs up great with the workflow side of using this camera. So I have an all raw workflow, and the reason I'm able to do that is because of the storage solution that I have. This is the Thunderbay Flex 8 from Otherworld Computing, and this thing is an absolute monster. I have this configured with an 8 terabyte blazing fast M.2 editing SSD. So it's got 8 bays. That's where it gets its name, the Flex 8. And 4 of the bays are a RAID 0 array of 2 terabyte M.2 SSD. So blazing fast, can handle the 2700 megabit raw, can handle the 1000 megabit raw, obviously editing right off of it. So I've got 8 terabytes of editing storage, and then I have an additional 48 terabytes of hard drive storage in the other 4 bays. So that is the only reason I'm able to shoot a completely raw workflow, is because 1, I have the computer that can handle editing raw, and 2, I have the storage solution that can handle storing all that data, because it's a lot. Like, it definitely generates a lot of data. And then beyond that, I've got another 96 terabytes that I archive everything to. So I've got massive amounts of storage, which is the real reason I'm able to shoot an all raw workflow. I won't say it's a must. You can work off external drives, you can do different stuff like this, but having just like a one-stop shop RAID enclosure has just changed the way I work. So that's the rundown, guys. My favorite accessories: the Polar Pro Basecamp Matte Box, the full frame Camera Co. Vmount plate, the bright Tangerine left field top handle, love it. The Zhiyun Crane 3S, it's big and it's unwieldy, but it does the job, and it's incredible that it does the job for the amount of money that it costs. And then the Otherworld Computing Flex Bay, or Thunderbay Flex 8. Those are my 5 accessories that in my world are like must-haves. They make my workflow manageable, and they just make my shooting life easier. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. I always love talking about gear. So if you're into that, like I said at the beginning of the video, guys, go ahead and subscribe, drop me a comment. I'm just happy to have you guys here. I appreciate each and every one of you. The channel's been popping off a little bit, and it's been fun, and I'm just having a blast doing it. So thanks again, guys. I really appreciate you stopping by and checking out this video, and we will see you in the next one. Much love. Peace.